This building makes me £25,000 a month. This is what I would say is how you stage an apartment. You've got the paneling, the beautiful feature wall right in front, which comes out really good on pictures. You've got nice lighting, TV with Netflix, sofa. One of these apartments cost us about £1,100 to rent and about £250 in about bills. So that comes out to about £1,350 a month in terms of costs. And we can make anywhere from like 2,000 top month that I've had on one of these 1-bedroom flats was £3,000. So you can make a killing on some of these flats. It is a triplex flat kind of. It's got a little hallway / lobby and the stairs up here. It's got a nice elevated viewpoint here, and then we'll go up again, and that's got the bedroom and the bathroom, etc. We'll show you what we've done with the beds to make it more hotel style. As you can see here, we've got this lovely, again, feature wall, nice pictures, and then we've done a twin bed setup. So what you'll see in most hotels actually is again that they're rocking twin beds. Now, why do you do this? Because it makes it more affordable for more people. You can get more people inside, you can charge higher prices. It's that simple really. So again, what we're trying to do is compete with the hotels, put more beds in, sleep up to 4 people. You know, even if you've got 2 couples or 2 friends or whatever, they can comfortably share this space without having to rent a 2-bedroom apartment, making us more competitive on price. Gives us a nice USP, and it really works well. And this is much nicer to stay in than a hotel, for example. This is actually the exact same copy in the sense that it's double story again with a double room upstairs with twin beds inside as well. And these two actually, when you look at the building, this one is number 5 and that one is number 1. And they kind of conjoin onto each other, like it kind of forms a jigsaw puzzle. And there's one flat underneath here, underneath the both of them, which is a smaller flat. This one also, again, same price, like we pay a rent on the whole building. We don't pay a rent on like each specific unit, but it works out again to about $1,100, $1,150 a month. So you can imagine just off these 2 flats alone, if they're doing $2,500 a month minimum, that would make it about 5K. Another 1 bed down there doing $2,500 a month. Another one down there doing around $2,500 a month. So that's already putting us up into the 10K mark for the 4 1-bedroom flats. As you can see, again, super important. We've done feature walls, pictures, that kind of stuff. What we do with these listings, and I found it interesting because no one's ever complained about it, is we run them all off the same listing, all the 1-beds anyway. So you can book a 1-bed flat. You don't know which 1-bed flat you're getting. It's proper, like we're trying to run it hotel style, and that's the competitive advantage on these. So we get hotel kind of reviews, we get a lot more reviews on our listings, all that kind of stuff. So I'll show you some of the 2-bedroom ones as well, which aren't occupied in the main building inside there, and how we run that and how we kind of put those all together. And what we also did when we got this building is we had a 3-week sort of grace period where we didn't pay any rent. And in that time, this is when we did the whole setup. It was me, my mum, and our joint venture partners, Jenna and Liam, on this building. And this was the one that really kicked it off for us. So before that, we'd gone in the right direction. We were slowly growing our portfolio and building the properties. These actually went live probably a year ago to this date, something like that. And we were building the portfolio, going in the right direction, but we're a bit stuck as like, how do you actually scale on? You know, if you're picking up 1 property at a time, it takes a long time to scale, and you can only really pick up so many a month just from a logistical standpoint with staging and that kind of stuff, unless you're bringing in other people. So then we took 9 on at once. We were like, oh, this is a game changer. And that's how we kind of grew quite quickly. Then we took on a block of 5 later with Jenna and Liam. Then we took another block of 8, and we've now got 9 or 10 in that building as well, and another kind of area in Leeds. But what you'll ask and wonder potentially is, how do we actually get these? And the simple answer, but the one that's probably the most annoying, is through networking. We got this through like a connection of a connection of a connection. That's how we got in touch, and that's how you have to do these things. It's like, I was networking, it was through social media, I was putting posts out there, all that kind of stuff. And someone reached out to me. I was literally on the train down to London, and they gave me a call. And they said, hey, look, I've got this block of apartments. We can't take it on. Do you want to take it on? You know, do you want to like have it? And they didn't charge us a sourcing fee or anything. They just passed it on because we built a good relationship with them. We'd had a nice like chat and conversations prior. It was actually quite a unique property in this sense. So the developer, building owner, whoever you want to call it, of this building is one of the biggest landlords or private landlords in Yorkshire. So they have about, I don't know, about 500 properties, I think, and you know, a lot of money and a lot of properties. So it's been a really good connection for us to have. And he's put us in touch with some other useful people as well. What you need to learn from that is you need to be able to act fast, because this deal, by the time it came across my table to the time we signed the contract, was 2 weeks. And that was, you know, for us, the biggest deal by far. It was a big risk, you know. You're talking setup costs on all these apartments was probably 40, 50,000 pounds. And we'd had Jenna and Liam, who we'd been discussing things in the background for a while. So like, it really was, you know, we acted fast, and I respect Jenna and Liam for that. And I also respect us for that in a way, because like, it was our biggest deal by far. It was a really big sum of money to put in like a rent to rent compared to like something which is an asset or a, you know, a house that you could buy, because you could buy a house with that kind of money. And in 2 weeks, and that's how we got the deal across the line. And that's where people kind of go wrong, is they don't network and they don't act fast. And that's how we got this deal over other people. And now I've got a really good relationship with the agent. I've got a good relationship with the developer. You know, these kind of run themselves. I haven't been here in months. Like, I cannot remember the last time I was here. I think it was for another video that we were filming. Like, I walk past these because they're near where I live, but I haven't been inside the flats in a ridiculously long time, because they kind of run themselves, really. And that's kind of level that you can get to. But yeah, we'll kind of show you, I'll show you the 2 beds as well, break down some of the figures on what we expect from those, how we operate those. So as you can see, we're here. We've basically got a carbon copy again of the 2-bedroom flat. Sorry, 2-bedroom flats, 2 double beds. And what, again, I want to reiterate here is like very comfy mattresses. They're better than when I first stayed here. Like they've been worn in. What you can see is like simple things that really make a difference. It's like we've got a little table there. If you want to do your makeup, there's a mirror up there. Big wardrobe. You know, these little cube things, a simple little touch, but really easy. Like, what's really fucking annoying is if you go to a hotel or you go to whatever, you can't charge your phone by your bed. There's not enough plugs, whatever. So we've got USB-C, USB plugs, loads of plug sockets. There's plenty to kind of charge with, etc. So super, super useful. It's just simple things like that make a huge, huge difference. Most people aren't that needy. Most people aren't that complicated. Like, if you can give a good experience and you can just do the simple things well, you'll get good reviews. And when you get good reviews, your property's more full. Like these properties, you know, today's a Sunday, and the reason we're coming here on a Sunday is because they're always booked, basically. Sunday is your one changeover day from the weekends to the weeks. But there's these 2 flats we've just been in have actually got someone arriving in half an hour. So like, just do the simple things well, get loads of reviews, and it works. And then what we do on top of that is, you know, we try and convert direct bookings, all that kind of stuff. And that's how suddenly, like, these apartments are just super, super profitable. This kind of joint venture, this block has been a great cash cow. We've made in profit, probably in a 12-month period, nearly £90,000 roughly, maybe between 90 and 100K profit on this kind of like this block. You know, that's incredible. Like, most people don't make that kind of money on a deal. And like, we've done that in 12 months from like starting from scratch. So, I mean, that's all you really need to do. But let's go to the 2 beds and we'll break those down for you as well. So this is another one of our apartments. This is a 2-bedroom apartment, but this is a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom flat. It's actually kind of a duplex flat, this one. So it's got the bit of an odd layout, but I quite like it. It's got the bedrooms basically as like a basement floor underneath here, but it means that they stay very cool, but they've got nice lighting. So it's actually interesting how the developer's done it. Rent on these about $14.50. Again, very, like, I would say that's a very competitive rent for people who know the Leeds market for the quality of these flats when they came onto the market, and the location is like, again, we can drop a pin little thing here, like it's right in the heart of Leeds city centre. Don't know what our council tax is on these, but let's say it's about £150 a month council tax. Bills, again, about £150 to £200 a month. So that would put you at about around 1,700, let's say £1,800 a month. Cost 1850, 1800 is roughly the cost if you add like Wi-Fi and stuff in as well. These generate anywhere from like 2.7 upwards. I think the best month we've had on one of these flats was around 4K, you know, but generally we aim for that kind of 3 grand mark, because that puts us at a nice like 1,200 profit. As you'll see that some of the flats have different layouts and stuff like that, but again, has never been an issue. You know, the way we set it up with the listings, we just make guests very aware that like they're not picking a specific flat, they're just renting a flat in the building. We've got loads of great reviews on this one as well, and we've just been able to scale it up and up. You know, what we've been able to attract here in terms of like businesses or people, we've had a large amount of contractors, but not as much at this time of the year at the moment. A lot of like families come here on the weekends because it's such a prime location. There's a lot of like weekend travel. So again, we've got another 2 bedroom. What I want to touch on is like our story and how this kind of developed and what that actually shows you. What you need to bear in mind is like, this is doable for anyone. And that's the point that I want to hammer home here, is like, we scaled from, in 2024, we scaled from basically 5 properties at the start of the year to having 30 by the end of the year. And then this year we've gone much more into basically picking up management properties which have been higher end, and making a lot large sums of management fees on top end properties, and now we're about 50 or so. But what you need to do is you need to create an acquisition model. You need to figure out, okay, how am I going to partner with landlords? And that's why we talk about the landlord partnership model so much, is how am I going to partner with landlords and create a win-win solution for them that allows us to scale our portfolio rapidly without taking on a large amount of costs. For example, that's why we had the grace period on this one. And then the ones that we took on in Harrogate, which I'm sure there's a YouTube video on it, but the ones that we took on at Harrogate, we paid no deposit and had 4 weeks grace period on those. And now we take on management properties where we scale without having to pay a single penny up front. There's so many different ways and models of which you can scale. What you need to do is you need to go out and take action. You need to look at it and be like, right, I'm a beginner with no knowledge. I'm going to start. How am I going to start? Well, first I need to get knowledge. Okay, once I've got knowledge, I need to have a product offering. What am I offering? How is that going to be scalable? How is that going to be attractive to landlords in the market? If you go spew the same shit as everyone else, then you're not going to be able to be in a position that it's attractive and you're not going to get deals. Once you've got a clear product offering, they need to go out and outreach to these landlords. These kind of deals, they fall in your lap when you're putting the work in, if that makes sense. So you get lucky, but you make your own luck, is what I've always said. We've got lucky with how things have played out, but we made our own luck by putting in the work to make that network to do those things in the first place. It's a linear process. And then once you do that, that's why you get to the back end, and that's how you review. You look at your deals, you look at your income, you look at your financials, and then you try and maximize. So we've now got a sales team, like a sales rep in place who works purely on direct bookings and leads. We've got a whole revamped website. We make, this month we've made nearly 5.5, 6K off damage waivers. All these kind of things, that's how you really level up and scale. But what you've got to do is, if you're just starting out, you've got to get the knowledge, and then you've got to get a clear offering, and then you've got to get clear on how you're going to reach out to people. And that's what we would run you through in the Airbnb Mastery Academy. It's what we teach all of our students. It's okay, how do you actually go through that process? And that's the kind of repeatable 3 steps. It's Alex Hormozy talks about it. I'll glaze him till the day I die. Offers, leads, money models, and go through that process, and you just apply that to your business. But then you need to know, okay, how do I apply it to my business? And how do I do it in the Airbnb industry? And that's what we can teach you. And that's how we've scaled to this point here. That's where you need to start. You just need to start taking action today, because we went from basically nothing 2 years ago to having a business that does 150K a month now. So again, this is another 2-bedroom flat. Second bedroom, again, twin doubles. This was a bit of we were trying to figure out what the best layout was with the beds, and it just comes short here. So you can still have the bed there. You can see we've got the really nice wall. I really like this one. The color, again, was a bitch to paint. You can think about that, that's a massive wall. So it took a long time to paint that. Again, figures on these, similar like I've said before, we try and get about £3,000 a month on most of these apartments, which we generally do achieve in most months. Some months we've gone higher, like in May, we made a crazy amount of money. I think we did 50K revenue just on this building, because there's a conference in Leeds, so you get charged £1,000 a night per apartment. Business branding, as you can see. Not sure if we've ever got any bookings from it, but I stuck it on there nonetheless. And then what we also do is we have these just stuck around. So if they do want to book direct or whatever, they can just book through our website and they just scan the QR code. And I painted these, and these motherfuckers took forever to paint. Because the one mistake we made when paneling these, bless Liam, love his soul, is we should have painted them before we nailed them onto the wall. So we nailed them onto the wall and they were unpainted. And it just meant that you can imagine going up there and trying to paint was a fucking bit. So this was really long. This took me ages just to paint these. And I'm not a good painter, by the way. So if you really look carefully, there are painting marks on ceilings and stuff. These beds are actually really comfy, I'm just saying. But the linen situation and cleaning and stuff like that, because it is a bit of a, you must think if we've got, how many beds? 3 beds in all of the 2-bedroom apartments, that would be 15 beds, plus 2 beds in all the 1-bedroom apartments. So that'd be another 8. So there's 23 beds. And if you need 3 sets of linen per bed, you're talking nearly 100 sets of linen, right? Which is a pain in the arse and costs a lot of money to set up. But your real competitive advantage when you start to look at these multi-blocks and having a hotel is that we have a massive storage area downstairs. So all the cleaning gets done on site. It's super beneficial to the cleaners, because instead of them having to travel between 9 different apartments, they can just do the cleans all in one building. So it's more efficient for them. We get really good competitive prices, and you can start to make money on that side of things as well, because it's far more competitive, and you start to benefit from the real kind of economies of scale that hotels have. And that's again how you create a USP and set yourself apart from your competition, because then you could charge a lower cleaning fee, or then you can increase it in your nightly rates, or generally your costs are just lower. So it's again something that we've benefited from, and that's been a learning experience. It's not always easy to manage it, but we learned how to kind of set that all up and create the system so that it's very efficient in terms of cleaning now. You might be wondering, how does a 23-year-old nincompoop like myself finance something like this? It's a great question, because I didn't have the money. One piece of advice that I would say, which I think is super, super important, is we've done these on a joint venture with Jenna and Liam, who I've mentioned a couple of times in this. We've done another block that we've done on a joint venture with them also. The reason that we were able, as I said, spoke about in speed in getting this deal, because the developer really wanted to get these rented because they were finishing it. We had already been negotiating kind of a joint venture contract and agreement in the background for quite a while, which meant that when we actually got to having this offer in place, we had everything in place to kind of start and scale. And like, we had the finances. I rang Jenna up on the train. I was down to London. I said, hey, this deal has come across my plate. Is it interesting? Do you want to take it on? Do you want to do it? And she was like, yeah, fuck it, let's do it. And what the importance of that shows is when you are, you know, I'm very much big on action, go, 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 and figure things out later down the line. You know, I'm not big on like doing websites and like putting loads of systems in place which are unnecessary. But especially one mistake that beginners make is picking the wrong business partner. Like, obviously I work with my mum, and that's quite a unique situation. What you need to bear in mind is you should not work with family members or joint venture partners, friends, if you are not aligned in terms of your goals and expectations. So the reason me and my mum work so well is because we don't really clash, because we don't do the same tasks, because we've got very different skill sets, which means that we don't cross hairs a lot. Like, we're not clashing on work things because we're doing very different things in the business. Whereas if me and my dad were to work together, we're both kind of more salesy commercial people, and we'd constantly be clashing. And what you need to realize is, like, we set everything up in the background. We spoke to Jenna loads before we signed any agreement, and we had all the terms and conditions, all the contract laid out, and we were like, okay, the next thing that comes across our pipeline, we'll take that together. And that's part of scaling, is sometimes you have to scale, then plateau to put the foundations in place to scale again. And it's again what we've been doing the last couple of months, is like, we scaled heavily, then plateaued, scaled heavily, took on another 2 apartment blocks, and then plateaued. Because right now we've been implementing a really good CRM system and doing a whole website redevelopment, and really scaled our team and put systems, SOPs, training like modules, all that kind of stuff in place. So now we're in a position where I reckon we could go from 50 to 100 units, take on a couple more customer service reps, but the rest would kind of just keep chugging along. But what people do is they don't plateau. So they get a deal, and then they're trying to find a joint venture partner for that deal. And then what happens is you fall into business with the wrong person, because you're so desperate to find someone in place. Whereas actually, if you had found that JV partner beforehand, you could have agreed the terms, you could have agreed everything without having the time pressure on it, and then say like, okay, when something comes up that works for both of us, then we can move forward. And you've got to be aligned on values, business goals, what you want the business to be, that kind of thing. Otherwise, most joint ventures fall apart within the first 6 to 12 months. And we've been working for Jenna with just over a year now, and I don't think we've ever really had a single argument or a single falling out or a single issue. And you need to be very clear, like, they were the investors on this, but they put a lot of work in the staging. And then we were the ones who've managed the whole thing in the back end, and we've got very clear roles and responsibilities, which is super important for moving forward. One final piece of advice that I will add is, for you starting right now, is do not think you need a business partner. It's one thing I see holding people back all the time. It's like, oh, I want to speak to my friend about it, or oh, I want to see if my dad wants to get involved, or this or that or whatever. Is like, most of the time, most people will not believe it's going to work. You know, they're going to doubt you. They're not going to be 100% confident to see the model. So unless you have someone who is in it because they are wanting to do it themselves as well, it's not going to work. You need to have like clear roles. Like for me and my mum, for example, we started off very clear. I was the one who put in a lot of the legwork. She put in some financial investment and catered with her knowledge. Then we went into the business both full time and split roles, and we had very clear kind of roles and responsibilities. But then when we got started, the reason that I approached her with it, because I knew she'd done stuff in property and I knew she wanted to get into this industry. So it was more a matter of like, can we do it together? But I knew that we were both 100% committed to it. What you can't have is start a business and there's someone who's 110% and someone who's 80%, because it instantly creates friction. And that's where a lot of younger founders, especially like people like, you know, my age, they fail because they want to start a business with their friends and their friends don't put in the same amount of legwork as you, and like you can't let that stop you. You invest first, you scale, and then you can bring people along the journey with you, and you can find roles that fit them instead of shoehorning them into a role that potentially doesn't suit them. I think 2 more things that I want to touch on is like, 1, is this the right thing for you to do straight away as a beginner? No. Like, you shouldn't take on a block of 9 apartments because, you know, our rent on this is nearly £12,000 a month. Like, that's a high level of risk, right? But what I want you to be able to see is like what is possible. When we took this on, I would have just turned 22. I've now just turned 23. And I would never have seen this in our wildest dreams. But as I said, like, if you're consistent with the networking and stuff like that, you kind of really move forward, and you know, you can build those relationships and then go on to build bigger things. Where you should start with getting your first unit. Start with, you know, building those relationships, building those offers, get some experience. You know, I've seen people take on multi-units straight away as their first deal, and then you make a mistake and you lose money. Where we did the right thing is we'd already, you know, we at the time had maybe 16, 17 units under management. We then dropped some of the management units when we took these on because it was a big thing for us. But we had experience. We knew what we were doing. We knew how to get there. So we didn't make those same costly mistakes that a lot of people would make to begin with. And that's for your first unit. Your first unit is there for you to make the mistakes, learn, really get that experience under your belt. And that's how you can really move up the kind of food chain and pecking order to the next level. Whether you start here, I wouldn't start on a multi-unit, but what you want to do is, if you can find a landlord to work with on one rent-to-rent or an Airbnb management deal, you also want to then get them into the landlord partnership model. When you can do all of these kind of things, and that's what we can help you with and kind of teach you with in kind of the program and how we work, is that's how you get to that kind of first step. And then you move up to these bigger deals where you're managing blocks, doing all these sorts of things to kind of get really creative. So that concludes this video. What I've shown you now is our apart hotel that makes us over £25,000 a month. If you want to know more about how we've actually built this business, scaled, and what we do in our kind of everyday systems, make sure to click the next video and you're going to basically see a full breakdown of how to basically start and scale your Airbnb management business.